In 1922, archaeologists unearthed a dead city in modern-day Pakistan. Mohenjo-Daro was an advanced metropolis with complex sewage systems and planned urbanism. But what they found, scattered across the streets, shocked the world and challenged logic. It wasn't treasure or temples, but death frozen in time. Dozens of skeletons were lying in the open, twisted in agony or simply fallen mid-stride. There were no signs of graves, funeral rites, or proper burials. The most disturbing detail is that they bore no marks of swords, spears, or arrows. Men, women, and children were holding hands as if walking peacefully on a normal day when something devastating struck them instantly. The scene bore a frightening resemblance to photographs taken in Hiroshima and Nagasaki after 1945. The bodies did not decay normally and were not devoured by wild animals. Something at that site kept scavengers away for millennia. But the strongest physical evidence wasn't in the bones, but in the stones. Scattered throughout the city, archaeologists found pieces of pottery, brick, and sand that had been fused and transformed into green and black glass. This phenomenon is called vitrification. For sand and brick to melt and turn into glass like this, a temperature exceeding 1,500 degrees Celsius is required. Ordinary fires, forest fires, or volcanoes do not reach this instantaneous heat. In the modern era, we have only seen this type of vitrification in one specific place, the New Mexico desert in the United States, after the first atomic bomb test. The sand there turned into a green glass called Trinitite, identical to what was found in Pakistan. Investigators like David Davenport, who studied the site for years, claim to have found an epicenter of destruction. At the center of the city, all buildings were leveled, while at the edges, walls remained standing. The pattern of an airburst explosion. Davenport also reported anomalous radiation readings. According to his studies, the skeletons found presented radioactivity levels 50 times higher than normal, comparable to bodies found in Soviet nuclear test zones. Traditional archaeology tries to explain the destruction as the result of invasions or floods. But floods leave mud sediments, and invasions leave marks of bladed weapons on bones. None of these signs are present in the atomic dead of Mohenjo-Daro. If we look at the ancient texts of India, the coincidence becomes terrifying. The Mahabharata, an epic written thousands of years ago, describes a great war between Vimanas, flying machines, that used a forbidden weapon against enemies. The text describes a single projectile charged with all the power of the universe. The account says an incandescent column of smoke and fire, as bright as 10,000 suns, rose in all its splendor, a perfect description of an atomic mushroom cloud. The effects described on the victims are clinically accurate for radiation poisoning. The text says that after the explosion, people's hair and nails fell out. River water boiled, birds turned white and died, and food was poisoned. Warriors who survived the blast ran to the rivers to wash their armor and equipment, trying to get rid of an invisible dust that killed days later. This is precisely the modern protocol for radioactive decontamination. How could Bronze Age peoples invent such a specific story about radiation poisoning and earth-vitrifying explosions if their strongest weapons were copper swords and stone-tipped arrows? It is an impossible imagination. Another curious point involves J. Robert Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb. He was a scholar of Sanskrit texts. When he saw the first nuclear test, he quoted the Hindu holy book, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." Years later, a student asked Oppenheimer if the Alamogordo bomb was the first to be detonated. He answered enigmatically, "Yes, in modern history." Did he believe this technology had been used before? Skeptics argue that radiation can come from natural uranium or thorium deposits in the soil, But that does not explain the vitrification of stones or the position of the skeletons. Local geology does not justify 1,500-degree heat without an external event. Beyond Mohenjo-Daro, there are other ruins in India and Pakistan where street stones appear to have been polished by intense heat. The so-called Lonar crater near Mumbai is another site of geological mystery without a meteor explanation. The ancient astronaut theory suggests extraterrestrials intervened in human wars, but the hypothesis of a previous technologically advanced human civilization that self-destructed and reset the cycle is even more disturbing. If we accept the evidence of vitrification, we must admit that a weapon of extreme heat was used on Earth 4,000 years ago. If it wasn't nuclear, it was something even more powerful and unknown to our current physics. The city of Mohenjo-Daro was abandoned suddenly. There was no slow decline. The Indus Valley civilization, which was immense and rich, collapsed and disappeared from records, leaving behind only legends of gods warring in the skies. Today, the site is protected, but erosion and soil salt are destroying the ruins. Curiously, Pakistani authorities make new radiation measurements difficult at the site, which only fuels conspiracy theories about what is hidden there. The original skeletons were removed, but the black and white photos from the 1920s remain the mute testimony of horror. They capture the exact moment when an entire society was switched off by an invisible force. The idea that humanity is cyclical and that we have reached technological peaks before, only to destroy ourselves, is a grim warning. Mohenjo-Daro might be our mirror, showing what happens when we play God. The mystery remains. What generated the heat of 10,000 suns? What turned sand into green glass? And why do sacred texts describe radiation sickness millennia before Marie Curie discovered radium? Academic science prefers to ignore the anomalies, calling them ritual mysteries. But the green glass does not lie. It is the scar of a colossal thermal event that official history lacks the capacity to explain. Perhaps World War I did not happen in 1914, but millennia ago, in the skies of ancient India, and the victims of Mohenjo-Daro were the first civilians to suffer the terror of a technology we swore never to use again. When we look at these ruins, we don't just see the past. We see a warning carved in melted stone. Civilization is fragile, and the fire we stole from the gods can, at any moment, burn us again. Mohenjo-Daro is the atomic Pompeii. No volcano, no lava, just radioactive silence and the shadows of a people who saw the sun rise twice in the same day and then never woke up.